The 26th day of October 2023 at 10 a.m. in Commissioners' Chambers. Can we have a brief roll call?
Yes, Commissioner Pleshnik.
Present.
Commissioner Regovich.
Here.
Treasurer Zurin here.
All present. It's time for a motion for approval of the minutes of our last meeting on July 27th, 2023. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Treasurer Zurin, a second by Commissioner Regovich. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it unanimously. The minutes are approved. Next on the docket is old business. Do we have any old business to discuss? Hearing none, we move to new business with our quarterly investment review. Please proceed.
Good morning, and thank you so much. Beautiful fall day out there. Hopefully, though, that continues going forward here. So, always a pleasure to be able to provide an update on the market, interest rates, and the county's investment portfolio. All right. So as we know, the Federal Reserve has a dual mandate, full employment and stable prices. So what we're demonstrating here is looking at the trends of how has the Fed been doing through this historic rising interest rate environment in meeting their mandates. So on the left-hand side, we do have the change in non-farm payrolls. This is an indication of job growth in the U.S., and each bar represents the monthly job growth. The blue line represents the 3-month trend, moving average. And as we can see, while job growth has been positive, it has been growing at a slower pace than what it did previously in 2022 and 2021. So from the Fed's perspective, seeing this progress is proof that this environment of higher interest rates is starting to have an impact on the economy, and particularly the secondary piece of their mandate, which is inflation. And as we look at the right-hand side of the right-hand chart here, we're looking at the inflation measure, the personal consumption expenditure, which the Federal Reserve has as their preferred measure of inflation. And we can see that the rate of inflation has dropped pretty considerable from its high in mid-2022. So on a year-over-year basis, inflation is still present with us, but it's at a much lower rate than what we experienced when the Fed embarked on their rising interest rate path. That being said, with the core personal consumption expenditure, that core number which excludes that volatile food and energy component at 3.4%, the Fed still has, quote, work to do, because the target for the inflation is to have inflation be at 2%, approaching 2%. So we're getting there. The path is looking positive, but this is providing the basis for the Fed to continue to perhaps keep interest rates at their present level for some time. Growth, though, in the U.S. economy has certainly been much stronger than expectations. This morning we did get out the first estimate of the third quarter GDP growth, and it was at 4.9%, well above trend growth, which is 3%. But when we look back to March of 22, that would have been the first quarter of 22 and the second quarter of 22, we had negative GDP growth, and generally that has been a signal that the U.S. economy is in a recession. That led to expectations from economists that GDP growth going into the latter half of 22 and into 2023 would be below trend, and trend growth, of course, is 3. Needless to say, the U.S. economy has been more resilient than those expectations were, and we have continued to have this solid economic growth, although excluding this recent quarter, at lower levels than is generally needed to sustain the economy. So the question becomes, why are we having this such strong GDP growth? Well, clearly we know there are the additional stimulus programs that are, many are winding down, but we now have the Infrastructure Act, we have the CHIPS Act, things that are putting monies back into the economy, and then anecdotally the impact on the Taylor Swift concert, movies, whatever. It's been a nice diversion, I think, for a lot of folks, but clearly that has also helped to buoyant the U.S. economy, surprisingly. The consumer has been strong up until this point, and we have seen that, for example, with the monies that are spent on the Taylor Swift concerts and the experiences, we would say, versus acquiring goods. But we are starting to see some signs of challenges here, particularly as we look at the 30-day delinquency rates for debt that the consumer takes on. So the dark blue line is credit cards. Delinquencies on credit card debts we can see that trend has started to move upwards. Or still below levels that have been levels of stress, but clearly the trend is not looking very positive. Same holds true for the turquoise line, which is delinquencies on auto loans. And then interestingly enough, the green line, delinquencies even on mortgages have started to increase. So those are signs that we're seeing, kind of canaries in the mine, that are saying, the impact again of higher interest rates. It's really impacting the consumer. The student loan debt, of course, has been an anomaly, of course, distorted by the fact that the repayment of student loans has only just recently started. So this will also be a factor that we think we may start to see that trend move up. And the other factor, too, with the student loan debt is, through this period, many consumers who perhaps had student loan and did not have to make payments used those monies to fund consumption. And so if those dollars now have to be directed to paying down debt, that could be a drag on the U.S. economy. So the Federal Reserve does issues their updated forecasts 4 times a year. They met when they met in September. They issued what's referred to as the updated dot plot. Each dot represents each member of the FOMC committee's projection of where they believe that overnight rate would be appropriate at the end of each year. We want to keep in mind that this is, like any projection, it's a representation based on data that is known at that point in time. So the path of monetary policy is very much data-driven. But as we can see, looking at these dots, comparing June to September and then focusing on the 2023 lines, the Fed is communicating that an additional rate hike this year may be in order. So today we have that overnight Fed funds rate in 5.25% to 5.5%. If the Fed raises rates one more time, that would put us at 5.5% to 5.75%. Fed does meet, as a matter of fact, next week on the 31st in November 1st, and the expectations are that they will keep rates steady at that meeting. So that would just leave us with the mid-December meeting. December 13, 14 would be the last opportunity in 2023 to take any action on that overnight rate. As we look at the out years, 2024, 2025, 2026, of course, there's very wide dispersion on these dots because, again, we're at this period where there's heightened uncertainty as it relates to the U.S. economy, as well as, of course, the geopolitical events that we're in the midst of at this time. But the trend for rates going forward is, whether it's the latter part of 2024 or mid-2024, that the Fed will start to drop rates, and that will continue through 2025 and 2026, because ultimately the Federal Reserve thinks it is appropriate to have that overnight rate landing at 2.5%. And this would be appropriate if they are meeting their mandates, which, of course, the higher interest rates, the objective is to get them to that point. Now, as they have raised rates, of course, there's been a lot of chatter and a lot of really signs of voices of conviction coming out of the Fed that the Fed will be able to engineer a soft landing. But as we have seen, and we can look back historically, and this is kind of puts a little levity onto the subject, is that the Fed generally is not successful in engineering a soft landing. A soft landing, of course, is when they get growth to slow down enough, get the inflation in line with where it should be without pushing the U.S. economy in a recession. And unfortunately, as we said, the Fed has a tendency or a track record of going too far and not being able to put the brakes on fast enough. And that's partly because of monetary policy works with a lag, and that lag can be anywhere from 6 months to 10 to 12 months. And so clearly the interest rate hikes that we had 6 months ago may not have completely flowed through to the economy yet. But interestingly enough, we can see kind of, this is maybe it's an interesting correlation of anytime we have this big increase in the number of Wall Street Journal articles that reference a soft landing, not too long after that, the U.S. economy does suffer a recession. So the only time the Fed has really been able to engineer a soft landing is in the mid-1990s. So hopefully this time will be a repeat of the mid-1990s. But needless to say, the risk of significant downturn in the U.S. economy is much higher than what it has been. So any questions on the economic piece, where we're headed here? So looking at the county's investment portfolio as of the end of September, the $202 million of cash that we want to keep in mind, that includes $43 million that's attributable to the engineer fund and the utilities fund. So the cash of the remaining funds is about $160 million. We have $246 million invested in securities. So overall total portfolio $448 million. The portfolio today is yielding 2.67%. That's up from last quarter. As we've talked, we've only been in this environment of higher interest rates for 18 months. So when we think in terms of a portfolio of securities that was purchased over a 5-year period, we have securities that are have yields that are much lower than current yields. And this is where it's important when we think in terms of the strategic allocation of the portfolio from a maturity distribution, is ensuring that, in times like this, that we're positioned to be able to, on a reinvestment standpoint, be able to take advantage of higher rates. And as we can see when we look at the maturity distribution, we have 76 million of the securities maturing within the next year. That represents 31% of the investment portfolio. So clearly this is providing us with a lot of funds, maturities on a monthly basis throughout the year to be able to lock these higher rates in advance of what may be a lower interest rate environment going forward.
Eileen, I'd like to just go over that part a little
Sure.
bit more in the meeting. So with the investment advisory group and Eileen Stanek and Meter Funds, what we decided about 18 months ago was to look at the projected interest rate environment and invest with the maximum return. And the maturity at that time with the maximum return was a 2-year maturity. And I believe it paid about a half a basis point higher than the longer term maturities. So that's where we pretty much put everything. So if you look at the portfolio, you see 76 million with the highest rate of return, which is kind of odd because the highest rate of return should actually be the 4 to 5 year bucket. But it's actually the 0 to 1 year bucket. That worked out extremely well because even at a 2.35% return, that's what's maturing. And now we're going to be able to take that and reinvest it for a longer term to so the county has a higher rate of return for a much longer period of time with the way that we invested the money at that time. So it worked out extremely well for Lake County, taking the short-term approach with the highest rate of return, counting that maturing and then reinvesting it long-term, so the county has a higher yield overall for a 4 to 5 year period. Also, what happened is we introduced a lot of corporate bond investment, which that paid about a half a basis point higher than the treasuries when we started looking at that 18 months ago. So that was another a good move by the county long term. And I believe altogether, if you look at the next 24 months, we have about $112 million to reinvest.
Yeah.
And that is going to work out extremely well for the county, because when we look at the bucket of the 4 to 5 year bucket, that rate of return for treasuries right now, as of this morning, is about 4.4%. And if we look at corporate bonds, and that is, we can only invest for up to 3 years, that is in the mid 5.5%. That's around 5.5% as a yield. So the county's positioned really well with what has happened so far with the portfolio. And I just wanted to thank Eileen and Meter for all their expertise and
Thank you.
experience in investing.
Well, we couldn't do it without also the support of the committee and the assistance of the treasurer. So we thank you all as well.
Well, I certainly want to second that sentiment. Lake County is very grateful to Treasurer Zurin and Ms. Stanek for their work together to maximize our return on investment. I would also add, for those of you who are looking at the total portfolio of $448 some million, it's important to understand that these are all county agencies combined. This is not the general fund of Lake County Board of Commissioners. This includes Deepwood, Lake Tran, et cetera, and all the savings of those agencies that have their own independent budget authorities and boards as well. So while I wish that the Board of Commissioners had $448 million at our disposal, in reality, this represents all the funds of all the county agencies, and that's just an important data point. Nonetheless, it speaks even more so to the responsibility of the Treasurer's Office in investing that money. And we're very grateful to you both for your prudent investing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's good to hear news like this. I know it's not going to last forever,
Right.
but we can take advantage while we can.
Exactly, and to that point, we want to make sure that, as Treasurer Zurin had stated, that we position the county to have sustainable income for a longer time.
I had one more thing I wanted to add, just the history of the investment income for the county. If we look over the last 3 years, I believe it was 2021, the interest income for the county was $1.5 million. So that's what the county budget had to work with. They had $1.5 million in investment income. Now, 2022, I believe it was $3.8 million. So the county had more money, a little bit more money to put into the budget. And this year, the projected income is $14.7 million. So if you're going from $1.5 million to $14.7 million, it just gives the county so much more leeway to do things that are needed. So that's the impact of what's going on here with the investment portfolio.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, any further questions, comments?
Going once? Going twice? Then do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Regovich, a second by Treasurer Zurin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. We are adjourned at 10:18 a.m. Thank you again.
Okay, and With that, we will roll right into our 42nd meeting of the Lake County Board of Commissioners. Will all those who are willing and able please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Grant us, O Lord, light to our understanding, prudence in our investigating, foresight in our planning, sincerity in our deliberating, the grace to follow truth in our judgment. Help us to be moved in our decision, neither by fear nor by self-interest, and to do our work faithfully. May we respect the authority vested in us, for thou art the source of all authority, and may we use our directives for the common good and for thy honor and glory. Amen. Thank you all. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Here.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Present.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Here. Okay, this brings us to our first public comment portion. We do have some guests with us here today. We have Dr. Morris Beveridge, president of Lakeland Community College. Sir, would you mind coming up and taking the microphone?
Thank you.
Thank you.
As Commissioner Hammercheck observed just prior to going forward, I am here today dressed as a mortal, and that is meant not as any disrespect. But we at the college are recognizing and paying tribute to the Mentor High School student, Jack Sawyer, who I'm sure you've all read about, is is just undergoing the challenge of life. And so in tribute, we're all dressed in yellow today, and we'll be taking a campus-wide picture and sending it to him. So again, no disrespect, but I wanted to address the commissioners today as an expression of appreciation for the willingness of the Lake County commissioners to collectively participate in something of an experiment. And as you folks approved already, we are working closely with you and with the Mentor school system in a collaboration to share resources to try to maximize, if you will, the return on taxpayer investment into workforce development, and in particular into bringing more and more students from the K-12 pipeline into the workforce environment, whatever case that may be, whether it be a degree-seeking student or a skills-seeking student, so that degrees or certificates or just simply some way of being able to identify a contribution that can be made by a student in an area where the demand is incredible, not just in Lake County, but across the country as well. And so with this program, we're going to be, with your support, are enabled to participate with Mentor High School, Superintendent Heath, and we are going to not literally, but figuratively, split Dr. Joe Glavin right down the middle. And
Okay, King Solomon.
yes, thank you.
Is this where we say no, please don't?
I can hear the baby crying already in the water. But at any rate, this is I don't know that this has been done before, to where a county government office, headed by the three commissioners, the local community college, and the local, one of the largest high schools in Ohio, have come together to take on a challenge such as workforce development. Joe is an exceptional young man. I think a tremendous future ahead of him, and I think that he will serve in this unique role admirably. And as Joe and I have talked, along with Craig Heath, superintendent at Mentor Schools, the sky's the limit with this kind of an approach. And And, we're in a position, I think, with the strength of the bodies involved and the talent of Dr. Glavin, we're really in a position to show the state of Ohio how to do it. And so we're looking forward to it. I just wanted to take a few minutes to thank each of you for your support, and I look forward to seeing what the next 3 years hold. Thank you.
So I can get a picture with you saying great job?
If you'd like.
Oh!
I mean, it's only $100.
On a number of levels.
It's $200 if I have a tie on, but.
Here, petty cash, I want the full Monty. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And Dr. Glavin, please come on up, sir. See, finding things that we all agree on is such a wonderful occasion, so we like to celebrate it with lots of smiles.
Oh, nice. Adjust that for you. Good morning.
Yes, he is quite a bit on the cold side.
That's exactly right. I got to lower it a little bit. Commissioner Hamercheck, Commissioner Plechnik, and Commissioner Regovich, I want to thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak this morning regarding some of the exciting initiatives we're working on in Lake County. And as Dr. Morris kind of talked about just a moment ago, I'm going to kind of elaborate a little bit as well and just kind of how we came to this situation and some of our goals. So my name, as we mentioned, is Dr. Joe Glavin, and I was recently named the new Director of Workforce Development for both Mentor Schools and Lakeland Community College, pending Lakeland Community College trustee approval on November 2nd, so fingers crossed. And I wanted to discuss the innovative approach we are taking to address the skills gap and workforce shortage in Northeast Ohio, and also acknowledge the support and collaboration of the Lake County Commissioners in this endeavor. Now, in order to properly discuss our new partnership, we must first review the reasoning and unprecedented need that led to this creation of this partnership. So we are blessed in Northeast Ohio to have some of the best entrepreneurs, business organizations, small and large, in the state. But with this comes the acknowledgement that there is a skills gap in Ohio and the need for a highly trained workforce to fill these in-demand positions. Now, hearing about workforce gaps isn't new in the state of Ohio. That's something we often talk about. But what often is added in the conversation is that there's the lack of a necessary workforce desire to meet those needs. And I'm here at this meeting to tell you that that's simply not true. That we are seeing in Northeast Ohio an unprecedented demand by students and adults to learn the skills required to become college and career ready and lead Northeast Ohio into the future. Now, the issues that we're tasked with addressing is not just that employers have needs that are not being met right now with workforce, but that students are ready and willing to meet those needs, but they need to be provided the opportunity and skills to do so. And if you've heard me speak before, so I'm really excited to share that at Mentor Schools, we currently have over 38% of our juniors and seniors are enrolled in some form of career technical education. And that's really exciting. What I'm not as excited to share is that this past school year, we had 17% of our 10th grade students waitlisted for entry into a career technical education program. So we have a need from the employers who need these employees to have these skills, and we have students who have the desire to learn those skills, but due to capacity issues, we're not able to connect that. And that's really kind of where this comes to. So what happens is the key to my job is determining not only how can we do this, but how can we do this in the most fiscally responsible manner possible. Now, no different than our community members, our business owners, our educational and public institutions must be excellent fiscal stewards with the funds provided by taxpayers. And with these concepts in mind, our new partnership was born. Having been a lifelong resident of Lake County, I'm a firm believer that Lakeland Community College is one of our strongest assets and will be one of the keys in addressing our workforce skills gap and creating future success in Northeast Ohio. I believe that Lakeland Community College represents one of the best opportunities for residents in Northeast Ohio to receive early college exposure and also workforce development training. Through Lakeland Community College, our K through 12 students have the opportunity to explore college courses and workforce pathways and do so at no additional cost to their families through College Credit Plus. Through this new collaboration, my goal as the new Director of Workforce Development at Mentor Schools and Lakeland Community College is to ensure that we are maximizing the resources provided by our taxpayers and producing an outcome that will benefit all of Northeast Ohio. We intend to rapidly expand the opportunity for students to experience higher education when the cost is minimal for families, and to allow students to make choices now as opposed to waiting to that second and third year of college when parents are footing that bill. We intend to leverage our county assets and expand career technical education offerings to address the unprecedented demand in both the need for skilled workforce and the desire of students to obtain those skills. Our success will be contingent on our ability to collaborate effectively with employers, educational institutions, and government institutions to address workforce needs and rapidly pivot our approaches when the situation calls for it. I'm a firm believer that our actions will speak much louder than our words. And in just the first 2 weeks of this newly formed partnership, we have already submitted proposals to the Ohio Department of Higher Education to expand availability of college course offerings in the areas of IT, welding, construction, and manufacturing to high school students. In the area of welding, we are in discussions right now that would lead to a 300% increase in welding capacities for Mentor and Wycliffe students in under 1 year. So these are rapid expansions. In just the past week, I've had discussions with Riverside Local Schools, Wycliffe Schools, and even Lake Catholic High School on how we can remove barriers and maximize the resources we have in Lake County through increased collaboration. I would like to thank each of our commissioners again for helping facilitate this innovative partnership, and I look forward to future meetings where I can expand and elaborate on the benefits that we are seeing. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you guys I don't know if I have to stay for questions or anything.
Oh,
but
no, you
all
got to
right.
get patted on the back here, so hang on. I think it's fair to say, Joe, what you just said there really is proof positive you're the right guy for this job. And I have to personally thank Dr. Beveridge for the flexibility that Lakeland College has extended. I know there's been a lot of moving parts, and this has taken a lot of different forms, but boy, I don't even think John Plechnik could say anything more better than that. What do you think?
More better.
More better. There you go, see? And hey, at least I didn't say supposedly.
Mr. President, I would certainly second you in saying thank you to Dr. Morris Beveridge, as well as Mentor Public Schools and Dr. Joe Glavin for this partnership with the county commissioners, because workforce development is really the challenge of the future. I remember hearing every congressman and councilman say, I'm going to create jobs. That was yesteryear's problem, that we didn't have enough jobs for all the folks who needed them. Today, we don't have enough people to fill those good paying jobs. We don't have enough workforce to meet that gap. And that's the challenge of today and even tomorrow, is how do we train people up fast enough to keep those jobs here rather than have them eventually migrate to other parts of the world. It's no secret that Ohio is a great place to live, work, and raise a family. When you see major companies move here, there's a reason. But at the same time, we're seeing those companies struggle to hire the people they need to get off the ground. If Lake County can solve that equation, and we can promise you when you move here that you can hire enough people to run your restaurant, your manufacturing plant, your company, we will have to beat people off with a stick. That is the critical question that public policymakers are trying to solve, and it's exciting to be a small part of this solution, to plant that seed for the future so that we're giving our kids the best possible path forward. And ultimately, that also provides Lake County with the resources that we need for everything else, whether it be roads, bridges, jails, healthcare. Everything comes down to paying for and affording it. And if there are no taxpayers, there are no workers, there are no tax dollars to pay for anything else. So solving this problem doesn't just answer the question of where will your children work? Is there a place for them here rather than having to move to Chicago, New York or Texas, it also answers the question of how does Lake County in the long term have a sustainable plan to pay for all the things we need without having to raise taxes and engage in that death spiral of higher taxes, less population, and so on. So this is an incredibly positive thing and a wonderful thing. But I have to close here because every seed, is planted by a couple of people, and we've mentioned many of those names. But the person who first conceived of this idea was none other than Commissioner Rich Regovich. I remember him, initially talking about how we needed to have a workforce hub, and there had to be somebody who could be the point person for Lake County, who could bring together the public schools, who could bring together the community college, who could apply for grants and new programs to the state. And it's exciting to hear you've hit the ground running. But I want to give real kudos and thanks to Commissioner Rich Regovich for making good on his promise that he was going to make workforce development a serious focus of his time as commissioner. This is a heck of a start, and I'm excited to participate as we grow this program and we create the workforce of tomorrow so that our kids have the best opportunities, our economy is the strongest, and when people talk Lake County, they know this is the best place, not just to live, not just to work, but to have the best workforce for their company and their dreams to succeed.
Shall I add?
Well, yeah, note to self, never say John Pleshy can't add. Got it. Love you, John.
Was that more better?
That was more comma better.
Thank you. I conceived of this idea probably 2019. I sat with Joe Specia, superintendent at Kirtland Schools. We had coffee, and I said, I have this idea. I want to manufacture workers in Lake County. Every business I talk to, including here, are looking for workers and can't find workers to do these things. And my idea is that we got to get into schools. We have to get that K through 12 hands-on. Even if the approach is, boy, I don't really like welding or I don't like this, at least they know that before they have their diploma and they hit the door and not try to figure it out later. I met Dr. Beveridge early in the spring, I believe, presented my idea to him, agreed with everything I had to say. It was a great meeting, and that's kind of how it was born. And from there, working with Lakeland and going through the process of hiring, and Joe stood out as this is the guy we need to get this done. The bar's high, but right now we have mentor schools, and I want to get into all 9 school districts and move this along, pull all those assets together. And Lakeland's the ideal place to do it. They have the facility. I love to see the place full. I love to see it just grow from there. There's so many possibilities to go forward with this that I'm so excited right now that we're at this stage that the sky's the limit here, and we have to keep our talent home here, and that's part of it. And if we can give these 18 to 24-year-olds a livable wage, they can move and buy a house here, as Commissioner Pleshnik said, and we don't have to raise taxes. We don't have to do those things. They kind of self-fulfilling. So, not to put a lot of pressure on you, but I know you can do it. I have every confidence in the world, and I'm here to help at any time.
I appreciate that. Thank you, each of the commissioners. This is exactly why we're doing this, why we're able to do this in Northeast Ohio. Everybody is unified in what we're trying to accomplish. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. Have a good morning.
Thank you. Dr. Beveridge, all kidding aside, would you mind a photo with us? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Gentlemen?
I'll cut you a deal.
There, yeah. Hey, Jennifer, start the purchase order, would you? I don't want to then and now have your situation.
Do I equally get to be in the photo?
Oh, yeah.
All right, I'm just checking. I don't know.
Can I borrow your time?
Wherever you guys want me to stand over here.
You can Photoshop this, right? I hope. New York Yankees. No more official than mine. Oh, the guy.
third favorite team. I was there in New York City when they won the Super Bowl, and I saw the parade, so.
Yeah, that'll do it for you.
Browns, Panthers, then Giants.
Well, hang in there. Good luck.
I know, we haven't had good seasons.
No, it's coming. I apologize, but I've got a call I need to get on, so.
Thank you, Dr. Beavers.
Good job, guys.
Thank you both. Okay, continuing on to our first public comment portion, is there anyone who wishes to address the board at this time? Mr. Music.
John Music, 45 Coventry Drive. I want to mention that, we had the work session earlier this morning and so forth, and the financial report here. And like I've said here for years, even before any of you were here, be good stewards of our taxpayer dollars. And as you know, I support that jail 100%. And I've said this many times, without law enforcement or military, we won't have a country. And last time I looked, Lake County was part of the United States. I mean, maybe that's been changed too. Who knows nowadays? But the thing about it is, and remember, back in 2020, 1 out of 4 were seniors. We have a 33, we just don't pay county tax. We pay state taxes and we pay federal taxes. Do you know that the interest on our $33 trillion is more than we spend on our entire military budget? Think about it. And also, the credit card debt is higher than it's ever been for many, 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 many years. And the delinquencies, it was mentioned, are going up, 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 and we all know the sexennial property tax is going to be coming up here shortly. So just don't forget, and and I'm Mr. Regovich, Mr. Pletcher, you have talked about not raising taxes. I agree with you 100%, 100%. There's a lot of people that can't afford their needs, let alone their wants. And we've talked about, not everybody goes to college. It's like when I go to Walmart, I'll say, hey, thank you for coming to work today. And they all say, well, they come usually for a week or two, and as soon as they get the first paycheck, they quit. Well, who's going to work at these stores? Or you just talk to the people there and talk to the people that manage it and HR people. And let's be realistic, So all I am saying is, don't forget the seniors here, okay? Because, I know you're focused on the county, but people are focused on the state and also the federal, because we pay them all. And as a must, there's no doubts that we have got to give the sheriff the tools he needs to do his job. I support that 100%. And just like we have a levy in the township, and I support that. We need law enforcement, and our borders are wide open. Hamas is here. It's already a given. Border Patrol says they're here all throughout the country. And a number of people coming from some of the countries that they don't like us, they're here. Thousands of them. I remember a friend of mine used to say, the MS-13 gang, this is about 10 years ago, he said there's over 10,000 members of the MS-13 gang here in the United States. That was 10 years ago. Our poor law enforcement is going to have a very, very, very tough time. We've got to give them the tools they need to do their job. So all I'm asking you, we do the jail, just make it as much helpful to the taxpayers as we can, but give them the tools they need to do their job. It's that simple. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am, I believe you wanted to speak.
I'm Margaret Bushman, 5359 Ford Road, which has been closed for a total of 426 days as of 10 o'clock this morning. So add a few more minutes onto that. I think what we're asking for is a timeline. As I understand it, the commissioners aren't going to vote any money for the Ford Road Bridge replacement until the engineer has his plans all set and ready. I'm still befuddled as to why those plans weren't started 420 days ago after the bridge was closed. Why he couldn't start working on that then. Maybe he was and we just didn't know. But I'd like a timeline as to how long it's going to take the engineer to finalize his plans, and then how long after that it's going to take the commissioners to fund those plans, so that both the engineer's office and the commissioners can fulfill their legal responsibility to maintain Ford Road. And I'm tired of the buck being passed back and forth. And I'm tired of being so afraid that if I need to call for help, that it's going to take too long for them to get to us. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else wishing to address the board? Anyone else? Oh, you? Yes, ma'am.
Lori Bobin, 6067 Ford Road. I wasn't going to speak today, but since we just watched the financial report, I would just like to comment on the portfolio review. And I am in no way a financial, have very much knowledge in that direction. So what I'm going to say is going to be put in very layman's terms, so I apologize for that. But this is the way I am perceiving the report that I just saw. I understand, Mr. Plenchnik, that this is encompassing all of the money for Lake County. This is not specifically for the engineer's office. There's all kind of departments that need to benefit from those numbers that I saw. Numbers that are so beyond my comprehension, quite honestly. And it is wonderful to be able to take those type of funds, reinvest them, and get that monetary boost and exchange. But this is the layman's terms I see it as. I wish I could take all of my family's income and continue to roll it over into investments so that I could have the security of knowing that when something happens in my household or something needs updated or repaired, the funds may be there. And yet, there are things that the county requires me to do, such as pump my septic tank. Now, it's not very glamorous. It's not like getting a remodel in one of my rooms, but it needs done. And the Lake County requires me to do that. It requires the gentleman who comes out and does my septic report to you that I did it, that I maintained it. And I'm also responsible for my property taxes, which help fund not only your salaries, but numerous other projects in Lake County. So I'm going to tell you that while I wish I could take the core amount of my family's income and reinvest it, there are many times that I have to do without and say, no, this is more important because this is a piece of property I own. And the Lake County expects me to be responsible homeowner and maintain my property. So I have to do it. As much as I would maybe like to take that little chunk of money and put in a new faucet or maybe take a little weekend trip somewhere, I'm required to do it. So I'm asking you, gentlemen, in very layman terms, to think about investing, taking the taxpayer's investment and not necessarily having it be a financial gain, but a gain in the direction of improvements for your residents. That being, in particular for me, my road situation. 426 days for Ford Road, longer for Payne, and we hope during the process, Blair doesn't get closed as well. And it is a safety concern. So many residents down there, especially, well, everyone, but there's so many elderly. I want emergency responders to be able to get to my friends and my neighbors. And this is just getting incredibly frustrating as we speak to you and speak to you about our safety concerns. It's not vanity. It is a safety concern. So I ask you, gentlemen, to look in your own backyard and fix what you are responsible for. Just like you expect me to be responsible to you for certain things. You own Ford Road. You are responsible for keeping it open and viable for all of the community that it surrounds. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Perhaps when we get to our engineers component, we can have a more detailed conversation. Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else wishing to address the board at this time? Anyone else? All right, moving on. Madam Clerk, first resolution, please.
In the Utilities Department, resolution increasing appropriations and transferring cash within Lake County Department of Utilities Water Fund and Project Fund 595, River Street Waterline Replacement 475W, 2023.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution certifying unpaid water and sewer sums and administrative charges to the Lake County Auditor.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
In Job and Family Services Department, resolution appointing the Lake County Workforce Development Board.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Corey, come on, you gotta take the microphone. And I know this was gonna be a if we needed you, but I tell you what, there was such goodwill at the beginning of this meeting. I think if we don't talk about the role that you and Job and Family Services plays, I think we would be slighting our own team here, so.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you, and good morning, Commissioners. So the resolution I brought to you today is one of appointing some new board members to the Workforce Development Board. The board works in tandem with Job and Family Services to provide services through our public workforce system. So that provides workforce services to adults, dislocated workers, and youth programs that we offer. Within that board, we appoint individuals to the board every year, and this is one of those resolutions where a couple members had to resign, and we are appointing them. And so I and the board are recommending Jerry Benko and Mark Offinet to be appointed to the Workforce Development Board. Jerry represents the private sector on the required section of the board. It requires about half representation from private business, and Mark Offinet is a program delivery manager with the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services, another required component of the board, and they have both met the requirements and have agreed to serve on the board.
And when you say required, that's statutory requirement.
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
It's not an internal policy, that's the law.
No. Yes, it is required by law. All local workforce development boards require representation from the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services.
Excellent, excellent. And I guess we should also add thank you for all that you're doing. You are growing into that role with each passing week. Your continuous improvement has not gone unnoticed. You are a great hire, and you continue to be a great servant. So, gentlemen, anything you want to add?
Mr. President,
Sir.
I would just say when the position came open for Director of Workforce Development, and we spoke with Director Kazar, I said, I need someone who is energetic enough to go to every new business opening, meet every new business owner, talk to them about their workforce needs, tell them that we're there to help you hire employees. And she said, I think that sounds a little unreasonable. A little bit. I'm not sure we could expect so much, but you've gone above and beyond what we've hoped in this role. You've shown an energy and a passion for this job that some might say is unreasonable because you are so excited to do the work. And I know that Dr. Kazar Director Kazar is as thrilled as I am that you've stepped up so energetically to this role. It's a lot of work because you can't connect jobs and job seekers if you don't know the business owners, if you don't know Lakeland Community College and the public schools. You have to be at the center of that. And I know that you and Dr. Glavin are going to have a lot of work to do together. But you've really stepped up to get to know the community, to be present, to make yourself available to our business community so that when they have a need, we're here to help fill it. And by the same token, when people come to Job and Family Services, and any Lake County resident says, I'm looking for a job, you have resources available for them that goes beyond resume help. You know the businesses that are looking for workers with their expertise, and you can personally connect them. And I want to tell anyone and everyone who's listening to this meeting, if you're a business looking for employees, and most of you are, if you're someone looking for your next career opportunity, Corey Vojak, Director of Job and Family Services, Susan Kazar, we're here to help. We have services available for both the job creators and the job seekers. And I'm excited that you've taken this role on so powerfully.
I couldn't agree more, Corey. My time here, just watching you work and grow, is what people don't understand is what you do behind the scenes, all the red tape that you have to manage and cut through. I'm excited for you to work with Dr. Glavin in his new role. That's only going to get bigger, and I think your role is going to be just as big in that. So looking forward to the future, and thanks for all you do right now.
Thank you.
And that red tape is usually ribbon cuttings that we can't make it to and handing out
Usually,
certificates.
yeah.
So
Or government red tape.
just saying. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right, if there's nothing further, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
In the Commissioner's office, resolution authorizing the President of the Lake County Board of Commissioners to execute an agreement between the Lake County Board of Commissioners and Garland DBS Incorporated for funds received from the U.S. Department of Treasury under the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds, known as the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Jason, anything you want to add? You seem to be coming up here slowly, so it's like,
I
well,
just wanted to clarify, this is the ARPA project for the roof improvements at the Lake County Fairgrounds. We had a resolution a couple weeks ago awarding it. I just wanted to clarify that the award goes to Garland, and we're going to manage the project internally. We had a meeting with the Fair Board a week or two ago. It looks like we're going to start those first of the year 24 construction seasons to be completed by the fair. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, if there's nothing further, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution establishing the Lake County employee's share of the monthly premium for medical and dental insurance coverage effective January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. None being heard, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution establishing the monthly premiums for medical and dental insurance coverage for sub-government entities participating in the county employee health plans effective January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion.
Mr. President,
Sir.
I would just thank our County Administrator Jason Boyd as well as Joel DeMar for their hard work in establishing relatively low-cost health and medical insurance programs that we're able to offer to other government subdivisions in Lake County and save money for our communities. It gives better coverage for those who work, and it gives better cost for the taxpayer. So this is Lake County going above and beyond. We not just establish these programs for ourselves, but for smaller communities that may not have the power to negotiate that we do, we're able to lower costs throughout Lake County.
Thank you, sir. Joel, anything you wanted to add to that? No. Thank you, sir. All right, if there's nothing further, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution authorizing execution of an amendment to the agreement between the Lake County Board of Commissioners on behalf of the Lake County Prosecuting Attorney's Office and the Communication Workers of America Local 4340, expiring March 31st, 2024.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution authorizing the Lake County Administrator to execute an agreement for purchase and sale for real property located at 215 North St. Clair Street in the city of Painesville, Ohio.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Jason, a little background for those who may be interested.
Yes, Commissioners. This resolution and the following resolution are two fee simple parcel acquisitions for the proposed Lake County Public Safety Center. The board, probably dating back to last year, authorized me to work with some local realtors to begin negotiations or potential interest in folks for selling properties in and around the footprint at 125 East Erie. We closed on the Burger King parcel last Friday, 2 Fridays ago, and this continues that acquisition strategy, wrapping around North St. Clair and Jackson Street. So this resolution and the following one.
Excellent. Again, this is representative of the diligence and the efforts that have been going in, some of the stuff we talked about during our work session prior to this meeting. So again, we're trying to put together the complete package in the most cost-effective way possible.
Then I'll use the word future-proof. This will provide us, whoever's in charge 30, 40 years from now, the parcels, the footprint to expand on-site in Painesville in a very timely and economic manner. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Gentlemen, anything further? Thank you. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution authorizing the Lake County Administrator to execute an agreement for purchase and sale for real property located at 216 East Jackson Street in the city of Painesville, Ohio.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Very good. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution accepting the Ohio Department of Aging Healthy Aging Grant between the Lake County Board of Commissioners to receive and expend funds.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Jason. A little background.
Yes, thank you. I'm here on behalf of Aaliyah from our office, who handles all things senior citizens in Lake County as far as programs and services, et cetera. Shout out to Aaliyah and Kristen, et cetera. The county will be awarded $447,000 from the Ohio Department of Aging for the Healthy Aging Grant. Just some quick notes, 20% of these funds will go to support food assistance, 20% towards housing assistance, and 10% to internet access and digital literacy. And the balance of those funds on an RFP basis can be used for evidence-based services in alignment with the state's plan for local seniors. Funds need to be spent by September of 2024. So I believe, and Aaliyah's at another commitment this morning, her plan is to put some RFPs on the street in accordance with the state guidelines to local providers, those that we currently fund and maybe some that we don't, to pick their brains on what they see as needs in the community and then bring those forth to the commissioners at a later date.
Excellent. Thank you. Anything further?
Mr. President,
Sir.
I just want to say a special thank you to Aaliyah for her hard work in taking this grant to Lake County. I got several calls about this from different providers and seniors who were concerned, making sure that we were applying for the Healthy Aging Grant. And as soon as I talked to Aaliyah, she's like, application's already in. Okay. She is on top of it. Anytime there's an opportunity to find additional funding for our seniors, Aaliyah is always working hard along with her Chief Lieutenant Kristen. And so we're very grateful to Lake County Senior Services for putting seniors first and being on the ball. This will be very impactful. I mean, we've only seen greater need for food and housing assistance, and we've worked very hard to continue applying for federal and state grants. So this continues that success.
Well said.
Excellent. Thank you. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
In the Finance Department, resolution approving payment of bills as listed on the Commissioner's Approval Journal in the amount of $356,326.69.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck?
Yes.
Resolution approving purchase orders as listed on the Commissioner's Purchase Order Approval Journal in the amount of $5,046,339.58.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich?
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik?
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck?
Yes.
Resolution increasing appropriations for various general and non-general fund accounts.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich?
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik?
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck?
Yes.
Resolution transferring cash and appropriations within various general and non-general fund accounts.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich?
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik?
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck?
Yes. All right, moving on to departmental reports. Utilities.
Thank you, Commissioner. We had a bid opening yesterday for the last piece of the puzzle for connecting Madison Village's wastewater treatment plant to our wastewater treatment plant. We had a couple of bids that were below the engineer's estimates. We're happy about that, but more encouraging, we had 8 bidders on a very significant project that a couple years ago we would probably only have gotten 1 or 2 bidders. So we're pleased with the results of the bid. We're evaluating it now and hopefully have an award here in about 2 months and bring a contract in front of the board for consideration, and then looking at about 8 or 10 months construction, and then that project will be complete.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. Anything for?
Mr. President,
Sure.
I would just say thank you to Director Randy Roethlisberger for his work in implementing this historic investment in Madison. I know it's been a lot, but it's exciting to see the project coming to fruition.
It is. We're looking forward to it. Thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah, that does mean a lot. Yeah, Randy, wasn't so very long ago we were sitting across the table from each other when I was chairing the Utilities Committee and we were hashing this out. And my God, that's been 10 years. More.
2004 was the first time
Yeah.
we sat down. Yes.
That's good long run. Too long, but it's finally coming together.
Yes.
That'll. So whatever happened to Maria Underwood from EPA? She was one kind of keeping an eye on things. I think she ultimately retired, didn't she?
She did, yes.
Wow. Changing of the guard.
Blessings to her in retirement.
Sure.
Yeah, I think she, I don't think she ever believed it would actually happen, so maybe we should look her up and send her a card. It's almost there. Invite her to the ribbon cutting. All right, thank you, sir. Job and Family Services.
Thank you, Commissioner. I wanted to put something on all of your radar today, if you haven't already heard about it, but chatter has been increasing out of Columbus regarding the new State Department created by Governor DeWine. This department was created in July, and it's called the Department of Children and Youth, and is being referred to as DCY. This new department is being charged with promoting the efficient and effective delivery of services to Ohio's 2.5 million children and their families, to serve children earlier in their own homes, to improve lifelong outcomes, and outcome measures are going to be received, hopefully, to improve services to children and their families. So what we are being told is that this new department is going to include combining functions and programs from 6 different other state departments, including the Ohio Departments of Developmental Disabilities, Education, Health, Job and Family Services, Medicaid, and Mental Health and Addiction Services. So what that means for Job and Family Services locally, 3 of our programs will transition to this new state department, including publicly funded child care, children's services, and Ohio Family and Children First Council. What we're being told is that this will not disrupt county operations, so I hope that they're correct on that. But we're watching this, I'm watching this really closely to see how this plays out. The new department must be up and running, we're told, by January 1st of 2025. So as I said, I will continue to monitor this, and our department will transition whatever is needed to be in compliance with the new state department.
Good to know. Thank you for that update. Anything further? Thank you, ma'am. County Administrator Jason.
Good morning once again. Just I referenced it in the 9 o'clock work session. Just a brief update on the Public Safety Center efforts. We had our weekly Wednesday meeting yesterday, which was the third Wednesday, where we have a more detailed design discussion. We are at the schematic design phase, as I've noted a number of times. The sequence goes program, which we completed last year, which is essentially square footages on a spreadsheet that turn into bubbles. Schematic design is now we're finally starting to see some lines on a piece of paper as far as floor plans, and just starting to see some renderings pop out of the ground. I think the progress is going as planned, if not better. Thanks to Sheriff Leon Bruno, Chief Izzo, and their entire team. Really, the ball is in their court at the moment, making sure that the spaces fit from a workflow perspective, efficiency, growth, etc., down to the details yesterday of the space of the laundry room, and is there enough space in the laundry room for 50 years from now to add additional units. I mean, that's the level of detail we're getting, to use the word future-proof again. First estimate, schematic design estimate, is anticipated on November 20th. Obviously, we will then take that number and begin to digest and probably do some maybe value engineering. Not sure. We want to get there, but that'll be our first look at a number for us to start continuing our considerations on the financing strategy. Additionally, we completed our design build interviews 2 weeks ago. I hope to have a resolution in front of you around November 16th, bringing on the preferred team for pre-construction services. The benefit of having the designers, the design build team, which will be the folks swinging hammers, if you will, sitting co-pilot with HOK and the designers as things are being designed. The design build team can talk about constructability, market, materials, strategies, and so on. That'll hopefully save us some money in the long run. So,
excellent. Anything further for Jason?
Mr. President,
Sir.
I would just give a special thank you to our attorney on this project, Kirtland resident Jeff Applebaum. He's really been our strategic partner in the design build process. He helped to, as you often mention, draft the Ohio Revised Code on how jails and major projects are built. So having a local Lake County resident who cares so deeply about this project on board has really been a benefit.
Thank you, sir.
I'd like to add to that with the sheriff's team and how well they work with HOK and all the others involved, Jeff Applebaum, yourself. It was impressive yesterday on the fly as the sheriff's team said we should move this room here and move that. They were able to move those rooms while we're sitting there, and to see what that looks like, how the flow goes and how the safety and all those things coming together, and it's for me to look in that because they're the experts at this, and to build a facility that's efficient, that less movement of prisoners, less movement, those kind of things are all often a thought, and even to the future. So it's good for Lake County that we're taking that time and that detail.
Agree.
Indeed.
And
Jason,
Commissioner, no, and I just, there may or may not be a slide coming, but congratulations on your NOACA award last week. I know that's a very, very important award, and just wanted to pass along my congrats.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk.
Yes, I also wanted to congratulate you on your award from NOACA, and I also wanted to say the next commissioners meeting is going to be next Thursday, November 2nd, 10 a.m. here in Chambers, and happy Halloween to everybody.
There you go. Oh, that reminds me, I got candy in the truck. Don't forget to bring it in. I keep forgetting it's going to melt. Sorry about that, folks, but all right, on that, legal.
No reports, Commissioner.
Thank you, sir. Okay, County Engineer Jim.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody for allowing me to finally make the agenda after 23 years. It's been a long haul. Now I'm trying to figure out how to get my name from there up to the top, but I don't have 23 more years for that, I would have to say. Beyond that, Williams Road is under construction, as you know. They are working hard. They are not quite on schedule. They've run into some weather problems, so they've put them a little behind. but they hope to finish on before the end of the year, hopefully before December 1st. That was their original target date. Plain Road is out for bids, and we're looking forward to hopefully a lot of activity, such as Randy's been reporting, but we'll see. And for the benefit of the ladies, we have I am going next week to meet with the consultant on Ford Road. I have some ideas how to speed the planning phase up. We have some other things that we have been investigating on available materials, and so we're going to try to come up with a strategy, and possibly after that I'll have a little better idea and can make a report to them on a schedule and a strategy, which is going to be more important than the schedule.
Fair enough. And well, as long as we're all here and this is all public discussion, I think it's proper to just talk this through. You know, you came to us with 3 and ultimately 4 projects. There was an ask of $10 million. We've been punching through it, one project at a time. The second was, let's see, Payne Road, and that one came through as the second project. So for that $10 million, we've pushed out a little over 4. That leaves a remainder of $5,773,031.58. And in that last resolution that we adopted regarding Payne Road, there was a provision about reimbursement, which you're okay with, as I understand, that if there is money left in that bucket, it will be reimbursed back to the general fund. We've talked at length about the Blair Road. You know, you've approached OPWC. It's fair to say those are your peers, people who take a look at projects. So when they look at those documents, they have full faith, and I believe they've allocated $500,000 to that. So we've also, and again, I'm trying to bring all the stuff to current into play, and I'm going to look to legal. We did get a memo from legal that I believe we've all accepted, that funding for roads, bridges that are obviously titled to the Board of County Commissioners are the financial responsibility of the commissioners. The county engineer executes the actual work. And I believe, if I read that correctly, there's a provision that says, hey, do this road, do that road, do this bridge, do that culvert. It could get down to that level. And I think it's fair to say that it would be redundant for us to say, expedite repairing this, because you're clearly doing that already. But I think that there is a crisis of confidence in our community, that they're just not understanding the procedures that we're taking. I think if I could refer back to Dr. Beveridge and his reference to King Solomon, let's split the baby here. There are provisions already in place where it's been agreed upon that a reimbursement back to the general fund would take place. We just heard from our investment portfolio discussion that there has been more than the $5,773,031.58 brought in interest that was not previously budgeted. In good faith, we could move those dollars, and they could be drawn upon in the usual and customary manners we've always done here. There's always checks and balances. I think that would send a strong message to the public, and I think that would definitely not impact the general fund in a negative way, because we'd be utilizing dollars that were not budgeted. And again, as our bond counsel, our experts on bonding, our experts on underwriting have said, don't get involved in speculation. And don't deplete your fund balances. And again, show strong leadership, because management is a factor being considered. So that being said, Engineer Gills, would you be open to accepting a resolution that would fall under all of these things which we've stated before, but kind of, I think I've just pulled them all together, where we could move forward with funding it to the $5,773,031.58. Would that work for you?
It would.
And with that, gentlemen, we've got so many safeguards here. Can we please send a message to the public that we are not only just offering words, that we're actually offering substance? Can we please get this properly prepared through our legal, get it in the SIG file, and get it on the agenda for next week? Is there an appetite for that, gentlemen? Commissioner Regovich, Mr. Plechnik, thoughts, please?
We committed to the 3 roads from the beginning, and we're doing that. To move 5.7 now, I don't believe that, at least preliminarily, I don't believe that Ford Road is $5.7 million. So, right now we could see where we're at, where with Williams comes in. If there's any money left over from that, we can roll that over. I have a commitment from the clerk of courts for some money, and we can use those funds too. But we've committed to do those roads, and I still stand by my commitment.
But they would be, again, just to be clear, that'd be literally a paper transfer. It's not like we're compromising our investment portfolio. We're not compromising anything, and we're sending a strong message to the public. We believe in this. Monies have been allocated. They just haven't been expensed because we don't have a project out for bid. Again, just managing expectations, sending a strong message, and putting things in terms that the public can easily look at and understand. And then again, we've also been put on notice that Blair Road, the retaining wall, there is a failure issue. There is shifting and moving. And as the community has said numerous times, if Blair Road fails and is closed, now we're talking about some serious isolation. So again, just a good faith effort. Again, it's a paper transfer, but it's a step in the process that says, we hear you, we're taking affirmative actions. It gives our engineer, I'm going to say, bargaining power. When you've got potential construction companies out there, they're going to say, okay, we know there's money's there, that this is not speculative, this is real. Because they take a look at fund balances. Again, just looking for that appetite. Sir?
Mr. President, substance over form. Paper transfer, paper tiger. I've had a lot of county employees, I've had a lot of residents say to me, John, you need to be sharper and clearer in your statement because there is misunderstanding. And so I'm going to be a little sharper and a little clearer today. Road closure is not an acceptable maintenance strategy. It is not. Road closure is to be used in emergencies. It is not supposed to be a multi-year strategy to fix or replace roads and bridges. It is not acceptable to say, I don't want to look at it, I don't think it can be done, it can't be done. There is always a way. Granted, it may not be possible to reopen Ford Road to general traffic or semi-trucks. Frankly, it may not be wise to ever reopen Ford Road to semi-trucks. This is how the damage was done in the first place. We can put archways over roads that are not really slated for high weight trucks. We can limit traffic. We can put up the signage, we can put up the archway, and we can direct a little more traffic enforcement where necessary. If someone tries to drive through or damages the archway, we can put a little more pressure there. But road closure is not a maintenance strategy. It is completely unacceptable. And I agree 100% with the residents who say that 400 some days of road closure by itself is a failure. It absolutely is. It is not acceptable to say 9 to 12 months from now, all goes well. We'll try to push a month off there or a week off here, but to add another year to over a year is not acceptable. It's simply not. I understand it may be difficult as a matter of engineering. I understand some midnight oil may need to be burnt and some creativity may need to be reached. Maybe even an outside consulting group may need to be hired who has expertise that goes beyond what we have. I'm not an engineer, as it's been pointed out. I'm not claiming to be, But I also know that where there's a will, there's a way, and it is absolutely unacceptable to close any road, whether it's Ford Road, Bishop Road, anyone in between, for almost 2 years or more than 2 years just to get a fix. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't replace the entire culvert or bridge, but it shouldn't be closed the entire time while we're working on it. That should have never happened. And it is my position now, as it was before, that no matter how difficult it is, we should find a way to reopen. Even if it's one lane, even if it's residential and emergency traffic only, we should do that for the people of Ford Road and Madison. Number two, moving money from one account to another will not get the jail built, this bridge replaced, or any other project done faster. A goodwill gesture would be reopening the road now under limited circumstances, not moving money from one fund to another. A goodwill gesture would be promising everyone in Lake County, not just the people of Ford Road, that this won't happen to them next year or the year thereafter. We're already talking about other roads that may fail in the near future. I'm sure those residents are worried that there's not a long-term plan, and that best case scenario, even if the money is there, that we're going to close their road for 2 years while we work on the engineering. We can't do that to another community. And I do not support waiting 9 to 12 months to reopen Ford Road. I am 100% against that strategy. I support wholeheartedly a repair, reopen strategy. And we've heard from contractors, no less than the mayor of Timberlake, who has walked that bridge, who has looked at it in tandem with other projects he's done, and has said it can be done. Now, I'm not saying it's easy, and I'm not saying it's free, but you should not expect any resident to have their road closed, their bridge closed for over a year. And I speak with a little bit of personal concern. Because in my community, it's been said, well, what would happen if this happened in Willoughby Hills? In my community, the Pleasant Valley Road Bridge. My aunt lives on Pleasant Valley Road. I drive over that bridge almost every other day. It was closed by the engineer's office years ago, and the response to Willoughby Hills was, we're not paying for it anymore. The bridge is yours. Congratulations. And to this day, my local tax dollars pay for that bridge because the county said, we're not even going to touch it. I don't think that's fair for Willoughby Hills. I don't think that's fair for Ford Road or Madison. I'm not proposing that. What I'm proposing is that going forward, if we know that a total replacement is going to take 1 to 2 years, we find a way to keep the road open unless it is absolutely impossible, and I am skeptical that it is absolutely impossible. We find a way to keep the road open, at least for limited traffic. We've heard about the safety concerns. Even if the bridge is completed on the fastest possible schedule that Mr. Gills has proposed, that's at least 9 months. Maybe we cut it down to 7 or 8, but it's not going to be done this year. The winter will come, the difficult passage of the roads will come, and we're going to hear from residents about how unhappy they are about having to drive with one way in and out of their community on a very difficult weather-based road. And I don't blame them for being frustrated. It is natural and expected that they would be frustrated. But now I'm expressing my frustration because there's no vote that I can take, unless I'm mistaken, to command the engineer to repair and reopen Ford Road while we work on its replacement and the long-term fix. If I have the legal authority to do so, tell me. I'll make that motion right now. But if we don't have a repair, reopen strategy, then one way or the other, we're talking about a 9 to 12 month schedule where we might, if the engineer is lucky in finding materials, if he's able to expedite a few things, knock off a month or two. To me, that's not acceptable. You've waited long enough. I agree you've waited long enough. And frankly, it needs to be done now. It is not okay to turn this into a political football. It's not okay to turn this into a budget hearing where one department says, I need more money from the greater pool. This should have been dealt with. The engineering should have been done on a repair 400 days ago. I'll give them 20, 30 days. There should have been a repair plan 400 days ago, so at least one lane of traffic should have been open. And if I have the authority to make that motion legal, tell me, because if I can command the county engineer to reopen Ford Road, I'll do it. But what I've heard is that we don't have that authority to this point. But correct me if I'm wrong, because I would like nothing better than to reopen Ford Road right now.
I lost you quite a bit back there. Anyway, the bridges, roads are your responsibility as a board, period.
So can we command him to repair and reopen Ford Road, period?
There's specifications, things like that. You mentioned the other individual who's been up here suggesting temporary repairs, and my understanding is he's not a licensed engineer, but I would defer to Mr. Gills and the requirement to follow ODOT specifications, all kinds of requirements, safety-wise. That's first and foremost, and he's spoken to that. I don't care if you care to speak any more to it, Mr. Gills, but is there any temporary fix?
At this particular point, I would say no.
Right.
However, let me say this to you. First of all, this particular project, as part of several others, which I call the perfect storm, was presented to the commissioners in January. The answer from the gentleman who was doing most of the speaking was, hell no, when I asked for help. That was his words, very loud and clear. And he has done everything he can to subvert that ever since. And that's why we are going around in this circle. So, you know, this whole game that he's playing and is being played is at the cost of the residents. We had 4 projects, Madison, Williams, Payne, Ford, all go down at the same time. That is more than this office can handle financially. I've stated that for a long time. They've been notified that nobody really wanted to talk about it. Finally, Commissioner Regovich came forward and we discussed a couple of things in general that we were going to go forward and try to put together so that it could go forward. So yapping about temporary fixes from contractors and so forth who don't know what they're talking about sometimes. Contractor can fix anything, just ask them. So the point being is, if they had, the board had sat down with me and negotiated this out back in February when it should have been, this road would already be under construction and probably be open right after the first of the year. So let's really be clear on who's who and what's what. Secondly, the commissioners can do anything they want. They can, if he thinks that there is a better way to do this in a temporary opening, all he has to do is get the board to hire another engineer and a contractor to come up with a plan, and they have to come up with the money and go out there and take care of it. I am not going to put somebody on a road that I don't think is safe or will be safe even with a temporary fix. And it is my license and my tail legally, and which would include from negligence jail service, to take that kind of chance. So if he wants to do it, he's got 2 votes, then knock yourself out.
Mr. President.
Sir.
Just factually, the proposal that the engineer gave to functionally double his budget to get another $10 million was brought to us in March after his budget hearing, not in January, not before. And frankly, by that point, Ford Road had already been closed way too long. So just factually, I don't want to engage in a debate, but factually, the commissioners made that extraordinary request for a doubling of a department budget of $10 million after the budget hearing, where I'll quote, "no main concerns" was the statement of the engineer, and in March, not in January. So I'll leave it at that.
But if I may put a finer point on it, from a perspective, the engineer in good faith and compliance with the Ohio Revised Code provides us with road and bridge reports that show road conditions, bridge conditions, monies associated with them. In good faith, the engineer was working with Senator Serino specifically regarding funding. So to keep things in proper context, Engineer Gills, in good faith, when he became aware that no outside funding would be coming, the cavalry wasn't coming over the hill, he did the responsible thing and brought it to this board's attention during the budget hearing. Not after, during. Again, just want to be clear that this should not have been a surprise regarding road and bridge conditions, just to keep everything in perspective.
And Mr. President, just
Sir.
to add to your point about Senator Serino, my understanding is the request to the senator was for $2 million in state funding. That would not have come close to the $10 million request that was made of the commissioners, the doubling of the budget of the engineer's office for this fiscal year. Would not have come close to covering the $10 million request. So I'm not clear on how, even if Senator Serino came through, that $2 million would have meant that the engineer's office would have had all the money they needed. It's pretty clear that the ask was well larger than that to the commissioners. So I don't see how $2 million would have been the cavalry coming in. We've already transferred more than $2 million additional dollars to the engineer's office. So if that would have sufficed and there would have been no further need to discuss, we've already transferred well more than $2 million to the engineer in his budget this year, in addition to his $10 million or so of state funding.
Well, you are a master at debate, so I will put a fine point on that as well. Sir, you have made it abundantly clear that your primary desire had to do with debt service. The matching funds that were going to also be conditionally required from Senator Serino would be $2 million from the state, $2 million from the commissioners. We have proven that we can establish debt service if properly funded. And with no funds, you can't do debt service. Again, it's all a matter of perspective. From your perspective, you are right. From the engineer's perspective, he is right. From the public's perspective, though, that's who we need to be respecting. That's who we serve. We are turning these meetings into a circus, and I do not wish to be the ringmaster. I'm just trying to keep things in perspective. And if in all due respect, can we please remember we're talking about a culvert that was conceived of, designed, and constructed before motor vehicles even existed. The only major upgrade to this culvert was done at a time when the dominant vehicle on the road was the Model T Ford. It is not reasonable, and again, I appreciate your passion and your enthusiasm, but it is not reasonable to say that we can comply with all the regulations, including EPA having foreign materials going into a waterway. And that is an issue. And sadly, the east side seems to be the red-headed stepchild of Lake County. It's good enough for Madison. That'd be like saying you got something built by Orville and Wilbur Wright, we're going to get an FAA certification for passenger traffic. No one would reasonably expect that. No one would reasonably expect that you could make temporary repairs, even for foot traffic across this, that would be safe. But let's take that and explore it just a little bit. If temporary repairs that met all the requirements were put in place, it would take just as long to do those temporary repairs as it would to put in a proper fix, a proper replacement. And then we have the added cost and added time of ripping all that back out again. Engineer Gills, if I'm saying anything that's not accurate, please correct me. Again, we appreciate the passion and the enthusiasm to protect the general fund, protect the taxpayer dollars. But this is a safety issue. This was never an issue and maintenance issue. This was this road closure was a safety issue. Making an order to repair this road now and reopen it would be the same as going against medical advice. Nobody's going to order a doctor to do something that doctor knows is wrong or harmful. Ordering our engineer to do something that he believes, in his professional opinion, is wrong. I could not support that. Do we have the authority to do it? We can do it, but he also has the obligation to not act on it. And I believe he would have legal standing to not act on something that, in his professional opinion, is unsafe. And your reference to this paper transfer I referred to as a paper tiger, I'm a little taken aback by that, because there is a process whereby monies are allocated, and one of the key things is an auditor certificate of fund availability. You cannot even go out and solicit bids, let alone sign contracts for construction, without an auditor certificate of fund availability. So I appreciate there's a lot of moving parts and there could be some confusion here, and I realize there are passions associated with this conversation. But at the end of the day, we have the public's attention. We need to show them that we can work together. We can sort through these things. We've all worked through language that talks about reimbursements back to the general fund. We've talked about a process. We have any number of things already in place. Can we please just move the monies so that we can, when the time is right and we have everything in alignment, just act on this. Give the people the comfort of knowing we're taking this seriously and we are going through the process, which is ugly. But if we can't get this right, how the hell are we going to build a jail? If we can't get one culvert replaced? So with that, is there an appetite? Can we maybe work it up and talk it through? If not act on it at the next meeting, at least talk it through. Have some time to think about it another week.
Mr. President,
Sir.
there were 3 closed roads when we started this. We've funded the first 2. We've committed to take care of all 3. I don't know what we've displayed here that slows that down. I'm excited that Mr. Gills finds a quicker way to do this. That'd be great. I'm still committed to getting those roads open and servicing them so that they're doable for the people. As soon as that comes along, I think we displayed the fact we've already put over $4 million aside to do that. And we've had discussions with the engineer, with the people involved here in the city. How do we want to do it? We have options to fund these when they come up, all on timing. And I think that's all we're asking is when it comes up, let's do that.
And I hear you, but these roads and bridges, the slopes, they're not getting better with time. And Blair Road is a perfect example of that. In the 9 months that we have been talking about this, the conditions at Blair Road have now elevated to the point of, hey guys, you need to work on this. Now, I apologize, Engineer Gills, if I'm being a little too casual with my word choices, but you've made it abundantly clear to us, Blair Road, if we have a rain event, and we did have a couple of nasty ones here, had that been centered more over the east side instead of the west side, we would have very likely lost Blair Road. You're seeing movement there. You have crews out there routinely doing local maintenance and observations. Am I saying anything that's not accurate, sir? That's why there's 4 on there.
Yeah. There's always going to be one on there. There's always the next project. We can say that. I mean, I know there's other parts on the east side that they're worried about too. So I think Madison Road still has portions that they're worried about. So.
Well, at least we're having public dialogue on it. Anything you want to add further?
I better not.
That'd be your Christian side coming out? Okay. All right, well, let's see. Let me get back on. All right, Engineer Gills, anything further to add on any other subjects?
No, sir.
All right. And gentlemen, anything further for the engineer? No. Very good, thank you. Okay, moving on to old business. Do we have any old business come before the board?
Mr. President?
Sir.
I'm sad that this discussion went so long that the county auditor left the room, but I did want to note this was his first time back since the announcement that we had won the Ohio Auditor of State Award for our clean audit for Lake County. This is the first time since he's taken office that we have won this distinguished award. Rightly, Auditor Galloway gives credit to his Chief Deputy, Michelle Pinnell, as the point person on the state audit. But we want to repeat our congratulations to both of them if they still happen to be watching. We're very grateful because, as you yourself say, we need to give confidence to the taxpayer, and receiving the Auditor of State's highest award for a clean audit reinforces that we are following all those rules and regulations and being transparent in how the money is spent. So grateful to our county auditor's office for that hard work in tandem with our budget department and every department in Lake County for working together for this distinction.
Thank you, sir. Okay, continuing under old business, we did have our NOACA annual meeting, and gentlemen, I wanted to bring you your own personal viewfinders here, compliments of, there you go. So that those are some of the handouts that they had, but the issue there is a little bit of a throwback, but also some things, a little bit of the history there. Commissioner Fletchick, thank you. I saw your quote, and it means a great deal to me. Sometimes NOACA gets labeled and misled and pushed off into some pretty extreme categories, and it means a lot to me that you appreciate. I do make an effort to be reasonable and find ways to have NOACA be what it should be. It's foundational, it's collegial. That means a great deal. I got to say that meeting, I happened to watch, I think I was doing color commentary on your fake news broadcast there, your Captain Planet. That really got people's attention. And boy, did that get that sometimes you just got to get the conversation going. That did it. I also want to say, though, Mayor Whitfield from Elyria, good man, true man of faith. And boy, I got to tell you, he was my wingman in helping pull that together. And I got to give you credit there, Commissioner. You really got people's attention when you were placing your trust and faith in God and not Captain Planet. That quote, I think, is going to live on for a very long time. So with that, I suppose I should actually show this thing. I was rather impressed with it. I got this lovely little Ernfeld Award. You might have heard Jason talk about it. So normally I just kind of leave it in the box, but this one's kind of cool because it does talk about the fact that, as we're doing today, we have the tough discussions, we work through things, and we do try to find ways to be good servants. That's what this seems to be all about. So there you have it.
Mr. President.
Sir.
Again, congratulations on the award. Well deserved. I don't know if many people know that you spent 2 years as president, which is kind of unprecedented there, and how much does come back to Lake County. We get a lot more out of NOACA than we put in. I think Engineer Gills has been there 23 years. He gets a special lunch even. So he's seen it go through a big metamorphosis over time, and the last couple of years have been pretty straightforward. And even though there's a lot of hype and a lot of things that people believe that they're doing, I think the work we've done there, you've done there, has been exceptional. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. I also have to say, though, Jim Gills also was a recipient of this. Our own Steve LaTourette, former commissioner, now House Rep Dan Troy. A lot of names on it, so I'm honored to be included among that roll. Sir.
I, too, have congratulated John. First of all, I want to know how in the hell he got 2 years. That's one more year than I wanted to get, spending a year as president. But I think that when I was elected, went down for the first time, the director then looked at me and said, well, your predecessor never showed up. We don't know what's going on with Lake County. So I'll give you a real clue to working with us and getting what you want, and that is show up. And so I said, okay, fine, I'll be here. And you're right, Rich. We have gotten over the years a lot more money, including $800,000 for the city of for Willoughby Hills to fix the bridge that my gentleman to the left has referred to. And so that's a good resource. They have money. That's one of our prime, from the standpoint of the engineer's office, is one of our prime locations for maintaining our major federally allocated roads and bridges. Without them, it would be really tough.
Indeed, and how I'm rather humbled the way that I've wound up with 2 years in a row as I brought stability to the organization. Wow. So, yeah, but that was we basically paused things, and that's how a second year came in, just to get things moving in the right direction. So, but thank you. I appreciate your kind words and support and sentiments. It truly does mean a great deal to me, so thank you. Any other old business? All right, moving on to new business. Do we have any new business?
Mr. President?
Sir.
I was able to attend the Leaders Conference in Washington, D.C. last week, hosted by Dave Joyce. It was an interesting time. Lake County was well represented. I was happy to see somebody come from Lake County. I got to see people from Ashtabula County, Cuyahoga County. It was an interesting time in that, they were still trying to get a leader in their house. But we got to see some of the Capitol building and go through there and listen to all of our elected leaders to Congress. It was nice to see, got to see J.D. Vance, we got to see Max Miller and many others, and listen to them speak. Of course, they were real busy, and we had some great people talking at breakfast the next morning about how fragile our global safety is, and how those things we take for granted here, but it's a little scary when you hear it from the State Department that boy, this is going on, this war is going on, and so we have to really keep an eye on that. And I'm glad we have some leadership now to move forward and to keep our eyes open and know what's coming at us. So, but it was a good conference to attend. I think they're going to try and continue it again. This is the first time since COVID, so I don't think they've done it since 2019.
There you go. Anything to answer? Very good. So new business. Anything further? Okay, I'll give a quick State Interoperability Executive Committee board meeting. Took place yesterday. I won't bother reading in the details. We've talked about our communication system at length here, but I will add we did talk about afterwards a lot of support for the MARC system and the benefits that have been derived here for Lake County. I can recall back even in my days in the telecommunications department, areas such as Wisner Road and other areas that you would think we should be able to get to, but because of the topography of Lake County, it didn't work. But our partnership with the state has allowed us to have reliable communications in substantially all areas of the county. So that's been a real benefit. But some of the points, though, that were made during the meeting that I think we should also keep in mind are site security, our communication sites. I know this is going to sound like Captain Obvious here, but drone issues, that is a growing concern. And I won't get into the details, but the analysis of what has occurred in Israel, taking down communication systems, is a model of what it is that we need to be aware of. And there needs to be an awareness and continued support to show support for our schools as well as our faith-based community, because these types of attacks are very real, and it will stress our first responders as far as their ability to effectively engage and be safe themselves as they engage in those calls for service. We've talked about it here as far as radio authentication. They gave us some numbers. Right at the moment, statewide, 35,000 radios have been authenticated as being proper on the system. There still remains to be 114,000 that have not been, so they're still working on it. Again, we've talked about radios. I know this is going to get a little detaily, but AN versus BN, the model series. The AN radios, of which we do have a number of them as discussed in Lake County, their end of service is going to be January 1st. So there are some issues that we need to be aware of, and some things that we probably should be talking with our building department about in greater and growing detail are bidirectional amplifiers, devices that allow communications within buildings as we start to increase the efficiency of buildings, particularly metallic glazing on windows. You basically build these very tight boxes where you can't get radio waves through. So there's a number of things there. The 911 wireless fees, although they went up, the percentage of participation went down. And one of the nuances in the law that our legislature missed, the money transfer takes place after the percentage takes place. So technically, we all stand to lose money, but the state recognized that flaw and they will be doing a reimbursement. So hopefully they can get the reimbursement to take place at or about the same time as the funding normal disbursements go through. There is talk of a desire for a data center in Cleveland, or the Cleveland area. I think we should make a hard buy for that, because the fiber optic backbone for the nation actually runs right through Lake County, and I believe we can get a major artery with Columbus, a high-speed data link, so that could be a real interesting issue. And there's an organization, APCO. They are doing classes on next-gen 911, so if anybody wants to get a good feel as to the upcoming challenges that are going to be associated with bringing that online, that's going to be a real financial stressor to the smaller dispatch facilities, and anybody who wants to be growing that, they're going to have to deal with some pretty high demands as far as service and maintainability. So with that, is there any other new business to come before the board? All right, hearing and seeing none, moving on to our second public comment portion. Anyone wishing to address the board this time? Ma'am.
Gilda Spencer, 5580 Ford Road, Madison. I'm up to remind you gentlemen of the things that I don't have on Ford Road. I don't have safety services as far as the police go. We've talked about this before. I called Madison Township. They didn't have a cruiser. I called the sheriff's department. They won't come out because we're Madison Township. So there's no coverage there. So then if you go back to the emergency, the EMS and that, you're talking an average of 15 to 20 minutes longer for them to get to my house. And if Perry's busy, who has full-time people, then it goes to Leroy. Leroy has one full-time person, the rest are all volunteer. So they have to wait for their volunteers to get there. Then they have to go down Leroy Center. Then they have to go to Vrooman Road. Then they have to go to 84. Then they have to go to Adams Road. And then they have to go to River Road. And then they have to go to Blair Road before they go to Fort. So you're talking all that time. So then if everybody else is busy and you call Thompson's all volunteer. So they have the same thing. You have to sit and wait for everybody to get there. Then they have to drive down all the back roads to get to us. So that's another 20 minutes to a half hour longer. So that takes care of them. We don't have bus service for the kids for school. We still don't have that. And everybody thinks it's okay. Well, if you go to where the bus stop wants you to meet, you have to take the back roads, you have to go through Leroy, then you go through Thompson, and then you go into Madison. And you sit on the side of the road, because there's no place, it's where Loveland comes out onto Ford. There's no turnaround or anything, you're just literally sitting on the road. It is quicker for those parents to drive to Madison, South Madison Elementary and the middle school than it is to go to the bus stop. Plus you're sitting on the road, so it's not safe. So you have all that. Then we have issues with not being able to get out. I mean, have you ever driven down Taylor Road? That's supposed to be a really good road for you to get out. It's before Payne Hill. It's got holes big enough to swallow your whole car. So, I mean, and it's an issue. It's an old road. I mean, I get that. You know, I live out there. The old roads don't bother me. But I'm not going to drive my car through and follow and get swallowed up. The other thing is, and I know you're all aware of it, that I called Channel 19, that I have been on Facebook, and I'm not really good at that, but I have lots of help. But here's what, when I have people say to me, well, the commissioner says this, or the commissioner's doing this, this is my response now. You can watch all the commissioner meetings online. Go to the public forum and watch the public talk. And then you'll get the answers. And then you'll see 20 different answers from them over. I've been coming since the end of June, and they're never the same. It's either we don't have the money
or we don't have the time, or we have to wait for the engineer, or the engineer can't do this. You were asked again today to do a vote, and you both declined. So my understanding from coming all this time, he has to have some kind of assurance that the money's there. Even though he knows it, it still has to have assurance. And the two of you won't do that. So until this keeps going, we're still coming, and we're not happy. And I know you're sitting there saying, well, you know, this and this. It's not this and this. It's my life. I'm the old people on that road. So you've put me in peril and jeopardy. And week after week, I hear one excuse from this one excuse from that one. It's never the same. So now I can just prove it, because all they have to do is watch the public thing on the video, and they'll see what's going on. You've been told by the council that you're responsible for this. Well, we're over a year. So there's more things going on than anybody wants to admit. And then my first meeting here, Mr. Plasnik told me this is all political, and it'll be fixed in a couple of weeks. Well, what's so political about Ford Road? Somebody needs to explain this to me, except that there are issues going on at the other end of the road that shouldn't affect whether the road is opened or not. But obviously, there's something going on there. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Massey.
I'll be real quick. Brian Massey, 8196 Rainbow Drive. I want to offer congratulations and thank you to several individuals in Lake County working for the county government. One would be the auditor's office. I certainly give Auditor Galloway, Michelle Pinnell, and certainly Barb Hoja, and really all of the staff at our auditor's office. People should know that it's really an outstanding staff, and they're very, very helpful in helping me understand the very complex property taxes that we have. So I say thank you very much to him. I also want to thank Mike Matus. I understand Mike is no longer with us, and I have to say that is, in my opinion, is a very big loss for the county and for the Lake County citizens. He was extremely knowledgeable and very transparent and very helpful for me in understanding the fund accounting of government. I'd also like to congratulate Dante Lewis for being appointed in the Board of Elections, replacing Ross McDonald. I know he'll do a great job, but he should be commended. And finally, we've already talked about this, but Commissioner Hamercheck, I want to compliment you on your award for NOWACA. And no one's read, let me just read what Mr. Boyd wrote. An individual who has contributed significantly toward the betterment of the region by exhibiting outstanding leadership skills and accomplishments. So thank you very much, Commissioner Hamercheck. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh boy. She got the draw on you.
That's fine. Lori Bobin, 6067 Ford Road. It's unfortunate Mr. Gills just left, but I would like to back him up on that. There were quite a few times it was no, hell no, and I believe one time it was even a hard hell no. And 2 weeks ago, I spoke at length, trying to reiterate, especially to Commissioner Regovich and to Commissioner Plechnik, that to continue to publicly perpetuate this cycle of the engineer needs funds to move forward, you don't want to allocate the funds, but you would if he can show progress that he can't show unless he has funds to move forward, is just getting ridiculous in the public's eye. And it is so extremely disappointing that when I spoke those words 2 weeks ago and tried to let you gentlemen know how frustrating that is to the public, you still didn't hear me. It's so disappointing today to not at least see one of you step forward instead of just giving the public lip service. It is so frustrating. And it is so starkly clear, this cycle that just keeps going around and around. Gentlemen, it's rather pathetic. We just want to see some progress. Again, what we are hearing as the public is you won't allocate funds to the engineer's office, and he can't really move forward unless those funds are there. And Mr. Regovich, when you said, well, as he brings things to us, well, let's not let there be a gap in his progress. Let's put some funds there so that he can keep rolling forward, so that we don't have to sit here and think, okay, now Mr. Gills is so far with his plans, so now it's going to be another 2 to 3 weeks before you can move money so he can keep moving. It is so frustrating and so deeply disturbing.
Thank you.
Margaret Bushman, 5359 Ford Road. I just want to say that I think people have the impression that is only affecting a certain group of senior citizens who have the opportunity to come to these meetings on Thursday morning. It's not just us senior citizens. There are a lot of young families, hardworking people who have to go to work on Thursdays, so they can't come and speak before you. There's a lot of mothers with young children. I wonder how this meeting would go if the mothers with the young children all brought their young children in with them so they could attend the commissioners' meeting. You know, we are passionate about getting Ford Road fixed because it impacts our life daily, but it impacts the lives of our neighbors and our friends and our community. I, for one, love living in Madison. Madison's a great community. But I don't know how long I can stay there. And certainly anybody that's living on Madison, on Ford Road in Madison, can't sell their property because who would buy it if they can't use the road? And if they can't have the services that your tax payments fund. It's a catch-22. Stay and feel unsafe, move to a safer place, which might not even be in Lake County. I really think that sometimes somebody has to give. I heard what was to me a reasonable proposition today. If you gave the money to the engineer's office with the understanding that he, had too much money, hopefully it's not going to take $5 million to fix Ford Road, that he would give the extra back to the general fund. I'm sure the legal counsel can draft something. We're giving you this money towards fixing Ford Road with the understanding if it costs less than that, you're going to give it back to us. It's a give and take. I think it's way too late to do a temporary fix on Ford Road. And it's way too late for the final permanent fix to get underway. But it's not just 3 senior citizens showing up every week that they can. It's all those other people who can't come before you that need your support, that need that road open, that need their school buses to come down that road and pick them up and take their kids to school safely, that need their rescue services to be available to them in a timely fashion. Think long and hard about it, gentlemen. You did a lot of things about the senior citizens aging in good health. I'm not aging in good health because I'm scared. I fell a couple weeks ago and was too scared to call the emergency services, and I just dealt with my injuries myself. That's not a good thing. It worked out okay, thank God. But I can't thank the engineer's office or the commissioners for their help. Think long and hard about your legal responsibility to get that road open in a timely fashion, in a safe, timely fashion. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else wishing to address the board at this time? Anyone else at all? Okay, moving on, there is a request for executive session. The 2 stated purposes are personnel discipline and personnel collective bargaining. There will be no business to be conducted afterwards. May I have a motion to adjourn for the reasons so stated?
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, roll call please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes. Thank you for joining us today.